get okay, I don't like doing it, but because we've already had that conversation before this, but I will still have to say, Gabriela, thank you very much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure speaking to you the last time in Mediator Experiences. And of course, this conversation definitely is also going to be as wonderful. So thank you very much.
It is my pleasure too.
But look, like I told you, there is no concept of any direction to the conversation. We take it wherever it goes. So nothing. There's no agenda. There is no script. There's nothing. Right?
All right.
So you
So
were saying
it is,
something. Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
You were saying something. You were saying something. You were saying yeah.
Yeah, what came to me when we were talking about why you started all these conversations with mediators or just with interesting people, um, and I'm proud to be part of the group, uh, is that many times we mediators that we learn how to be collaborative, we learn how to help other people be collaborative, and we worship collaboration. But many times throughout the world, and I've been quite a bit around, we're not collaborative among ourselves. And many times we want to emphasize how good we are, and we lose track of the why we're doing that. And in Brazil, we have a very good um, council of mediation and arbitration institutions, which is kind of the organization that brings in mediators and arbitrators in order to foster these activities and help educate other groups and so on. And for a long time, I was more active there, which I haven't been for the past few years. But when I was there, very active, I proposed a marketing project based on the example of Chilean wines. I don't know if you ever had a Chilean wine.
I don't drink, Gabriela. I don't drink wine, so I don't drink
Oh.
alcohol. But so I would not that good world. I do not part of. So, but you must tell us about this.
Well, I love wine. It's the only drink that I actually love. But what was interesting about Chile, Chile is a South American country, right close to Argentina. Second, I'm sorry. And
So let us also tell people that Gabriela had her voice went away, and she's finding a voice now. It's very
I've been
empowering for
for
her.
a full week with a bad cold.
Yeah, and we're supposed to
But
do this on the 29th. But we were supposed to do it on the 29th, I think. And of
I'm
course,
sorry.
we were supposed to do this on the 29th of December, but we
Yeah,
couldn't do it because we needed your
yeah.
voice as part of the
I
show.
had no voice at all. Now it's coming back. I'm sorry.
No, if it's a strain, we can do this later. Not a problem.
No, for me, if it's not too bad for people who are listening, for me, it's fine. But I actually got to this point because I had meeting after meeting and the voice was never able to recover. But now I had a few days off. So coming back to Chile. So Chile is this South American country with a great land, great terroir, but it came to the market after Argentina. Argentina was the first country in South America to have great wines recognized worldwide. What they call the new world of wines was basically Argentina. And then Chile came into this market with wines that are at least as good as Argentinians. And for some grapes, it's better. As some grapes are better in Argentina, it's normal. Each terroir has the specific grapes that are especially better there. But they could never match Argentina in terms of marketplace and price. So all the wineries were doing their marketing by themselves. spending a lot of money to tell the world how good they were, but they were still a lot after Argentina. So they decided to do something different. Instead of investing in their own markets, each winery, each business, they decided to invest into the Chilean terroir marketing. So all the wineries brought in money and they started to emphasize how good their terroir is. And then after some time doing that together, they raised the world awareness to their terroir. So all the wineries there became more valuable worldwide because they could do it together. So I think this is such an example for mediators, because we keep many times, at least in Brazil, and I know quite a bit of other places, many mediation businesses are one people show. So it's a self market that needs to be done. But we're so busy saying how good we are, and I'm not talking about specific individuals, that many times we lose track of explaining how good mediation is. In at least in my experience, most times when people came to me, just one side of a conflict came to me asking for mediation and asking, how do I get to the other side? Which is the hardest part, because for definition, if you are in a conflict and you offer something, the other side will not accept just because it came from you and you're not trustable for that person anymore. So what I said most times was, give them at least 3 options. So make a list of 3 mediators or 3 mediation institutions that you can offer and from which they can choose. Let them feel that they have a choice. You're offering something in concept that is you can explain, or you can ask someone they trust to explain to them why use mediation, and give them at least 3 names. And of course, if you want to offer my name, thank you very much. But you may choose other people, and I can recommend other people. And many times I listen to the case and I try to find the skills that the person needs, if it's a business mediation, if it's a family mediation, if it's an environmental issue or something. It's different people because it's different experiences. And it will not be me many times. So I'm doing this marketing for other people, but I rarely get the return. So I think it's something that mediators need to think about, because for the very nature of mediation, when I recommend mediation, I need to recommend people who are equally known or equally unknown to the parties. And oftentimes they will come to me because I'm known to one of them and not to the other. So if we don't help each other, there will never be business for everybody.
Even the work that I'm doing, I'm telling you, this is what the issue that I face is that people are not further promoting it. Do they feel that, look, if we are promoting this, are we promoting Vikram, and why we should not promote Vikram? Not understanding, look, what you're doing is there's so many other people who are also going to be promoted with it. They're all your fellow mediators. And then because of that, conversations around mediation might happen with people who otherwise would not have known about it, because you normally end up seeing all this happening within the mediation world only, all these posts and everything. But reach out to other people, like which I was just telling you before we started the recording, that is the world that we have to. There's so much work out there. Those people just have to have these conversations, and of course, see these good mediators out there and hear them and say, look, they are special people, that kind of a thing. So I think that, like what you're saying is related to what I see. That further they're not wanting to maybe promote each other because their insecurity, they don't think that's big enough of a pie for everyone. I'm saying this pie is so huge, there is enough for people with the mediator mindset, not
Yeah.
mediators. Okay, I'm not saying generally mediators because there's so like these factories which have churned out so many of them, so that is a bit of an issue there. But what I like is that pronunciation, tehua. How do you pronounce it?
Terroir. It's
Tehua.
French.
I like that.
Yeah.
Tehua.
Terroir.
I'll tell you what my wine story is. This whole thing went around all these articles and everything that red wine is very good for the heart and you should have maybe what so much per day or so per week and everything. Okay, I said let's try it out. Why not? I mean, maybe it's good for you. So maybe about 4 or 5 times I did. I didn't of course like it, but I said let's do it for the heart. But then there was one Google search, and I found an article saying that this university professor in the US had given a report saying it's good for you, but actually it was it's like a fraud. I mean, someone had paid that person to do it. I just had to find that article and said, no, there's nothing to it. This is just what the alcohol industry is just promoting wine. Then somewhere else I read how genetics also plays a part in getting the benefits from wine. So maybe people in the Mediterranean region can have certain genetics to take benefit from it. And okay, maybe we don't. So it just basically, in a way, I just did not want to drink it. So I said, well, this is it. Now I found my support and I didn't drink it after that.
Yeah, I love it. So
Yeah, I'm sure I don't know. Is it an acquired taste or is it something which someone takes to in the first go? I don't know about that. You would tell me. How does it work?
a balanced life is always good, right?
Mhm.
And I think wine it's totally about balance because it's something that you have to drink with the right food. You cannot drink a very strong wine with a salad, and you cannot drink a very light wine with meat, for example, because they would annulate each other. So wine is it's a balanced exercise. And if you drink too much, you hate wine the next day. So it's really about getting just enough.
No, but
So
did you take to it first time you drank it? You liked it the first time you drank it, or you got
I
used
think
to
it went, meeting my husband helped a lot
it? Mhm.
because I learned a lot from him. When we started drinking together, it became a lot more fun. And also when we plan a dinner and we plan the food and we plan the drink, and it all becomes an occasion. So that
So,
helps good moments be remembered.
so all that
But
swirling the wine in the glass and smelling it and all those
yeah,
things and
the
putting
smell
it in
is
the mouth and just
wonderful.
keep it there, all the rolling and your thing, all that happened.
All this exercise is very I think it helps people have a good time, not because of the alcohol itself, but because of this whole experience.
It's like a ritual.
So
It's like a ritual. Like
it's a ritual,
yeah,
exactly.
it's like the tea ceremony. Okay, so
Exactly, yeah.
so no, but I think I don't know what do you suggest? I mean, look, you've seen the kind of things I'm doing because I'm trying to create a balance between. I want mediators definitely to be working as individuals only because finally only an individual can mediate. It is that it's a personal thing. You have to do it, and I want them to be highlighted because institutions, yes, can have panels and whatever, but the individual should be highlighted. But I'm trying to do a balance of getting people together. So this mediators collective but not create an institution. So what are your views on that? How do you?
This is a very interesting challenge, and I think it's necessary because you're absolutely right. The individuals are the main, the core business of mediation is a very personal thing. You choose a mediator for the trust that he or she make you feel, right? And this is unique, it's singular, it's something very uh, individualized. On the other hand, you will never, I really believe in mediation clauses. I really believe in the predetermination of mediation in a relationship, which goes either through the law or through the contract, the law between the parties. So, because on the very moment of conflict, it's not the moment where the parties are so able to think in a sophisticated way and decide for a methodology that will at some point bring them to an agreement. They're neurologically unable to think collaboratively once the conflict is real in their system. So they need to have some provision that will bring them there, or they need to have people, lawyers, friends, family, judges, who will help them get there once they're not able to do it by themselves because they are completely swamped into conflict. So you will not name a physical person, a natural person in a mediation clause because you have no idea of when and if that clause will be used. And if that name that you wanted to use there will be alive, will be available, will be willing to do it, or so on and so on. So you need to name institutions. That's the one very good reason for mediation institutions, in my view. That's why I'm so fond of jams. Jams is my Disneyland, because it is a good place for a mediator to develop himself in a business, as a business, and still not lose this individualized charm that we cannot take from the mediator. But what does it take to build an institution? What we see a lot in Brazil is that after the mediation law and the civil procedure code, the new civil procedure code, a lot of institutions started pumping up around the country. And some of them died even before they had the first case. Because it starts with the same mindset as arbitration, but the business is completely different. So arbitration is very institutionalized. And the problem with arbitration institutions is that the arbitration, how can I say, all the bureaucracy that arbitration requires, a secretary, paperwork, and notifications and so on, costs a lot. And mediation is a lot more simple, so it doesn't justify the same kind of price for the service that the institution is rendering. So if the institution was made to sell arbitration, mediation will always be a second or third or last option, because you cannot charge as much. It doesn't pay for the institution itself. It only pays for the service of the mediator and a little margin for the expenses. It doesn't make business sense to sell mediation if you were made to sell arbitration. And that is a big problem. On the other hand, the institutions that were made to sell mediation, they are normally run by mediators. And this is a problem. It's more or less the same thing as a hospital being run by a doctor. And that only made sense to me when a friend of mine, who is a business person, very well-succeeded businessman, he's a constellator, by the way. That's how I met him.
Yeah, you're going to tell us about that later. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, I met him in another world, in another environment group. And I was telling him about the many many times that I tried to build a mediation institute based on some premises of making something bigger than I am. I always wanted to do something bigger than me, something that would stay even if I died, even if I was sick, even if I decided to do something else. I wanted to do something for other people to also grow with. And what happened many times is that people, they were normally I normally met them in training circumstances as my students, because I was one of the first to give training as a mediator in Brazil. So most people that were willing to put money into an institution to build something bigger, they were my former students. And this is not a problem by itself. The problem is, as he said, you are too much of a mediator to just run the institution. What people want from you, the clients and your colleagues, is that you are the mediator, you are the role model. So you cannot split yourself between doing all the efforts that the business person needs to do in order to sell, in order to market, in order to take care of accounting and so on, and also be in the front line. So you need someone else to do the business part so that you can be marketable.
Because,
And that is what makes sense in that circumstance.
Gabriela,
So
yeah, please.
No, that's it. So I think mediators, once mediators decide to come together, they have to have in mind that they need to pay someone who is professional, who is good, who knows what the person is doing, in order to sell them. It's hard for me to sell you and you sell me, because we are very busy doing mediations. So we need someone who will be there for all of us, and we need to pay this person.
Gabriela, what am I doing? I'm not okay. I don't want to sell anyone for sure, but I'm saying I'm what this promoting mediation and mediators. That's what I'm doing. That's what I keep saying also. But what the model that I decided was that look, I have to just keep doing this. I have to put these mediators out and I have to have these conversations around mediation, but not on mediation, not about the process, all that. There is so much happening on that. Okay, forget that. But there's just the fact around some interest around mediation in that sense, where you're talking about the larger picture, also this vision 2026, which of course I'll talk to you as we go along. But that is what I'm doing. So model I said was, look, I can easily, I have told by people, why don't you create an institution, and what you're doing is what an institution does. I said, no, if I go in that direction, the work totally changes. I'm now going to be looking at how I can make money out of this conversation. Whom am I going to have a conversation with? What is the kind of conversation I'll have? What am I going to put out? It'll be totally different. So I said, let's not go that route. All I did was I said on my website, and otherwise also I'd sometimes used to put out that support me. If you think that I'm doing something good, it's like taking me out for a coffee or a dinner or whatever. Send me something, send a gift. So I said, let me take that route. So at least I'm not looking at anything from that commercial perspective, because I feel that that whole direction for mediators, I mean, the people with the mediator mindset, I feel they also do not want to do that. They also want to do good for the world, and which is what I mean, of course, this institution part, I will talk to you about this, but for me it is a much larger thing beyond institutions, because when I see the numbers, I see jams, 18,000 matters in the whole year, and this is supposed to be the largest institution, private as we are told, but which I will tell you, maybe it's not, might not be so right, but out of that only 9,000, 50-50 is what the CEO in some interview said. So 9,000 mediations in the whole year, it's nothing for this world. I keep saying, even for the US, 100 million cases going into courts, JAMS has only 9,000 mediations happening. We have a website, a platform that some children, I mean, the kids got out of college and they created that. They've hit the 1 million mark. They've already done in the last 3 years or something. They've hit the 1 million mark. That's the scale that we need. That's the scale that is available out there, because the kind of, I mean, Brazil, you will tell us, but in India, there was some report which said only 3% to 25% matters go into courts. So I'm saying for a moment, for my advantage is to say only 3% go. So there are 450 million matters which don't go into court. So if that is the situation which compares with the US situation, that in population of 300 million, 100 million go into courts. We have a population of 1.3 billion. So there might be 450 million matters out there, which are, out of that, only 18 million go into courts. So something is happening on the other side. And that is the side we need to maybe grow. And I don't know, that's whether professionalize is the word or not. Yeah. Yeah.
No, just that when we talk about private mediation, it's very hard to count. I'm not talking about gems because it is institutionalized, but when we are private, sorry, private mediators, it's hard for us to advertise because every case is confidential. So many cases we can count, but we cannot talk about them. That makes also the count very hard, and many times it's very informal too.
Well,
It's not.
I'll tell you, Gabriela, there was one legal head of a very large company here. I actually, after the mediation, I recorded his experience and I actually put it out. I posted it also, and then I removed it because I realized my problem is I can't just create this whole hype around mediation, but not have the right people, because that user experience is really important. So I said, look, if a legal head of such a large company is saying I've used mediation and it really works and everything, of course, these are going to be, of course, large companies, their legal head, they all know each other. They'll start talking about it. Now they will just say, okay, let's mediate. But the mediator is important. So for me also in India today, first of all, we don't have people who are only into private mediation like me. Everyone in some way or the other is connected to the court system. There might be a handful of them as I see them. Otherwise, everyone is connected there. And that connection I do not want right now, because there is a issue in terms of user experience that's happening there. Because again, the fact that what they are paid, and someone made a very nice, people might not like it, that if you give peanuts, you'll get monkeys. That kind of statement someone made on a mediation center in India, that someone who's part of that court. So that is what the situation there. So I just want that anything connected with the courts, I don't want to have conversations on that part. You have been connected with the court system, so your experience might be different. So you can tell us about that because you were part of how things. Because you're part of the development of.
I was part of the very beginning of mediation in Brazilian courts. In Rio, my state, I did the first mediation in court in 2007. Me and my partner at the time. And then it grew into a public policy. And now it's very big. And of course, the quality, you can get a very great experience or a terrible one. And the numbers are more to the second part. So, but I think it becomes the same all over the world. And if you don't mind, if I step into the next subject, constellation, I would like to make a link of these experiences. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So talking a little bit about constellation to afterwards come back to mediation. Constellation is a methodology based on a natural law. It's not something that a human being invented. It's something that a human being realized and brought into a methodology. Of course, it was not a one-man work, but this one man called Bert Hellinger, a German guy who passed away in 2019. I was actually in one of his trainings in Brazil. He was in Germany, of course, but a training of his institution when he died. But Bert Hellinger had the big mission of looking at a phenomenon and understanding the basic rules that govern groups of any kind. He didn't think it was so universal as we now know, because now we have some science studying this phenomenon. And this science is being developed by a British biologist and philosopher and many other qualities called Rupert Sheldrake. So Rupert Sheldrake started studying some behaviors of plants and animals that matter didn't explain. So why do this group of seeds develop in a way to the right, and the other group of seeds in India develop to the left, for example, whatever. For example, frogs and the salamandras. Do you know salamandra? This animal? Okay.
Yep.
So if you cut out a part of the salamandra, it will grow again, regenerate, and the frog will not, but they are basically the same structure. But if you give the frog some electric stimulus, it will grow as well. So it's basically about why the salamander searches for the stimulation and the frog doesn't. Things like that caught the attention of Rupert Sheldrake many years ago. And he started studying what made that happen. And he got to some conclusions. And one day, he stepped into a Bert Hellinger workshop. He saw his work. And after the session, he went to Bert Hellinger and asked, "Do you know why this happens?" And the German said, "I don't know why. I only know it happens. And for me, that's enough." Very German. But then the British said, "Would you mind if I explained it to you?" So that's how the two things become one. And the first the first law that Bert Hellinger calls the orders of love. There are 3 orders of love. These are the basic laws that govern the healthy relationship pattern in any living group, from crystals to humans to nations to planets, and of course families. That's how Bert Hellinger started, because he was a family therapist. So the first of these orders of love, that we can also call a law, is belonging. So if you were born in a family, if you were hired in a company, if you were born in a nation, you belong, full stop. This is not an option. This is a reality. And belonging brings in, as anything, some pros and cons, some rights and some musts that we need to understand if we want to live in peace. And of course, there are the orders and the disorders. Normally, when people come to search for conflict solutions, it's because they are going through the experience, the sensation of a disorder. Okay, so belonging is the first. The second one is what we call hierarchy. And that is about, in a family, it's very easy to understand, because those who came first, they need to be honored by those who come after, for the sole reason that, for example, I am only belonging in this beautiful mind and mediators group because you were the founder of this idea. So of course I owe you my big respect, because I only have this place because you gave it to me, right? So the way, when we are grateful for the place that we got in a company, in life, in a country, then
I'll have to come in. You are here because you are you. That's why you're here. Not because...
Yeah, but if there was not you, I wouldn't have a place, even if I was the greatest me.
But I still have to put that out. It's because you are you. Yeah.
No, but it is very important to recognize the founder of a family, of a country, of a company, or whatever we go. And for example, when you have brothers and sisters, the oldest one was the first one to really experiment the parents as parents. So there are pros and cons. You have more attention in one hand. On the second hand, they make a lot of mistakes and they learn from their mistakes. So the second child will have a different place. It's not better, not worse, but it's different. So the oldest brother will normally need to be at least recognized as such. It doesn't need to say, oh, you're much better. No, but at least give them the due respect and so on. And when you go in a firm, for example, in a company, it's a little different because it's not just a chronological order. You can come after me and be much more brilliant, much more skilled to the task, and bring in more results. So then you need to be recognized by these results because these results feed the whole group. So these order, they need to be adapted depending on the group, but the basic rule is the same. And then the third, and this is where we will go back to mediation, because when I understood this order of love, as Bert Hellinger would say, it made a huge difference in my mediation practice. It made so many things make more sense if I had known it before. But anyway, we always learn it at the right moment. So the third order and last, sorry, is the balance between what we give and what we get. The only relationship that can not be balanced, and that is okay, is between parents and children. Because children will never pay back for the life that they got. So it's a debt, quote, that is unpayable. And the only thing that we as children, we are all children of someone, even if we're very old, or I mean, we will always be a child of someone. The only thing that we can do to balance this equation is to be, sorry, I always get touched at this point, to be thankful but grateful to the life we got and do something good out of it. Every time we do something good out of the opportunity of being alive, no matter in what condition, we are balancing the equation of life. That's the only way. On the other hand, every time that we complain about what we didn't get, it should have been better, it could have been better. We always think that our parents could do everything and didn't do because they didn't want. And life is not like that. People are not as free as they really think they are. We are very limited to our own missions. And many times we need to make choices. And some of these choices we do not understand. It's not rational. It's way beyond what we can see and name and decide. It's bigger than us. We are in that, we're completely involved by it. So it's hard to see the difference between what you are deciding and what you're responding to that is unconscious. So every time we complain about what we do not have, we are unbalancing this equation of life. And of course, that generates consequences and after consequences after consequences. So the third order of love, the balance between to give and to take. And when we say to take, it's the word we use is very important, because many times we receive things from life, gifts, blessings, things that come to us without any effort. But when we are talking about adults, about chosen relationships, a marriage, a work relationship, a friendship, we're talking about adults that chose each other. So we need to really understand that our efforts will bring in the return. It's not something that will fall from the sky and we just need to be there and cry for the next milk that our mother will bring, even if she doesn't have anything for her to eat. So it's a very different relationship, a child relationship and an adult relationship. And many people grow up, they think they are adults, but they're still crying for the next bottle. And many times when we allow ourselves to work for free, and I'm not talking about charity. I love to do free work as a volunteer, and that has nothing bad in itself. The problem is to do professional work for nothing or very little. As, for example, we see about mediation in courts in most countries, in most places. That unbalance takes value out of the market. So if you were giving it for free, the message you're sending is that it has no value.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it lowers the standard for all mediation field.
Absolutely. I think I need to take this clip out and this has to be circulated everywhere. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so this is very systemic. What we see happening, and I had, too bad it's in Portuguese, but I had one video in my website. I did a prototype constellation of mediators' prosperity, and I didn't limit the geographic reach, so it's worldwide. Basically, when we do a prototype constellation, it brings clearly what we all have in common, not the specifics, but the general. And what came up there is that mediators are many times doing mediation for themselves and not for the parties, which is another imbalance. So I'm doing it because I want to feel good, that and have the feeling that I saved someone who could not save themselves. And it's not about saving anyone. No one saves no other. Taking into account that we're not talking about parents and children. Even parents and grown-up children will not be able to save their children if we're talking about adults. So what we can do, the most we can do to other human beings, anybody, mediators, constellators, dentists, doctors, the garbage man, whatever, what we can do is to offer what we have and ask for a balanced return, because the return is what makes the other person understand what they got. And no one wants to feel in debt. When you're feeling in debt, our normal rationality makes us think that the person who got more than gave will be very pleased. But this is not what happens. the person who gets more than he gives feels bad and feels angry. And instead of valuing, most people, of course, instead of valuing what they got, they despise it. So it's good for no one. On the other hand, when you charge, people feel like, oh, I got what I deserved, so it's mine. That's when they can take real, uh, uh, take the benefit of whatever it was. And what we need to be very clear when, in my humble view, what we need to be very clear when we step into somebody else's relationship, and that is a line from a GEMS mediator. He was a very famous judge and then became one of the owners of GEMS. And he used to say that before stepping into the mediation room, he would breathe and think to himself. His mantra was, I'm not the most important person in the room. So he needs to be there to serve, but to serve in order for the parties and the lawyers to do what they had to do there. And at the end, feel that they did what had to be done. And the agreement was theirs, not the mediators. Being a facilitator is something of such it's so difficult for us human beings to do something for others to look good. And this is exactly what mediators are supposed to do. But this is exactly what many times we collectively don't do. We want to be heroes. We're there to be heroes, to save people like Superman. And this is the very opposite of the purpose of being there. So
First of all, I think this aspect of the court system, I've been criticizing that aspect. That symposium of mine, every session I had to speak about that. Interesting thing that's come out from that is, like, Mr. Panchu, he's the person who's like a pioneer in setting up mediation in the court system in India. He started the first one in 2005 in one of the high courts. So I have seen the difference now. Of course, in the court system, these mediators were still getting close to nothing. But today, I mean, in the sense in that I have started something called Mediation Visionaries. So he was speaking on Wednesday on that, and he's now changed that concept, and he says that these whatever mediation that the court refers, it should go out of the courts to private mediators. Only the ones who cannot afford it, like you have legal aid for lawyers, like lawyers do it, same way that you can have mediators who can do for pro bono concept, but otherwise it should go out. So that's a major change, because if that is the way it had started, I feel, okay, it doesn't matter now, it doesn't matter, never too late. I think that is the direction it has to go. And if he's understood that and he's looking at it from that perspective, and a person like that, I'm talking about India, I'm similarly in other countries, some people would add that, people who are that senior and who have some say in the matter somewhere, should, if they start speaking about it, I think that is where, but who will speak about it? Like I was just telling you, me, and I say, okay, who are the other private mediators, full-time private mediators? I won't find them. So I'm going to be standing alone on the road with a placard in my hand with a black band or whatever. I'll be the only one there, or maybe 4 other people would join me. So that is where the problem lies, because over time, these are lawyers who are litigating lawyers in courts, and they also go to the mediation center, like you said, because they like doing it. It is something that they think that, okay, they're serving people or whatever their reasons are. So they're doing it for that. And some of them, maybe even what they get in the court is also good for them. I'm not even going to say that. I'm not going to comment on that. So someone, that amount is also maybe good. I don't want to undermine that amount also. Maybe for someone, it's livelihood. Who knows? So I'm not going to undermine that. But in general, the value of mediation and mediators definitely goes down. And which is what Mr. Akesanya from Nigeria, in one of the lecture series he had come, and he was talking about it, how when he goes into the court as a mediator, and a lawyer comes in with his robe and the wig and all that, the respect that that lawyer gets and this mediator gets so different. And even in the mediation, the parties are looking at you as someone, oh, this person gets as much as my clerk. They're looking at, because everyone estimates people with the kind with money somewhere. Okay, he's being paid so much, so that must be the value. So I think that whole circle is going around, and we somewhere have to break it. And you have to break it in Brazil. You are the person who, in some way, have been part of it, starting in the court system. So how are you changing it, Gabriela? Please tell us that.
Well, uh, there are many others, not only me. But the thing is, what I see as a possibility, uh, and I always advocated for that option because that's what I saw in the United States and also in Argentina. Argentina was a pioneer, not only in wines, but also in mediation. Brazilians and Argentinians sometimes have this kind of uh,
Love-hate
funny,
relationship.
yeah. Uh, but they are very special in many ways, Argentina. Not only the terroir. So in mediation, they started having a mediation law in 1996, and they started it through a judge that went to the United States, saw mediation happening, came back to Argentina, and draw this law that passed. And it was always like that. So you have a cadre, a roster of mediators that are previously approved. So you have to go through a test and you become a pre-approved court mediator, court annexed. It's not inside the court. They call it pré-judicial. So it's before the judicial system. And once you are one of these professionals, you get cases from the court system, but in a full private loop. So mediation is mandatory before trying to go to court. So before you sign an initial petition, you have to have tried mediation, and you can only go into court if you prove that you have been through at least one mediation session with with one mediator of this roster, and you didn't have an agreement, or you had a partial agreement. So then you can step into the court system. And that's what the law says. And it works pretty well. The mediators always complain that their fees are not good enough because it's predetermined, it's not free market. And they have been doing a lot to change it and to bring it more into a market-like balance. Because of course, if you go to a private doctor, I don't know how it is in India, but at least in Brazil, if you go to a private doctor and you have a very serious problem and you want to pay for the best, you will get something very expensive, but also very worth it. If you don't have enough money to pay for the best, you will pay for the second best and so on. And if you don't have any money, you take whatever the public system gives you, right? That's how it is in Brazil. Or if you have a health plan that has a roster of doctors, you will choose from that roster without being able to choose the best of the best, because of course the best of the best will be there charging whatever he wants for the hour. And it's the same. Mediators are doctors for relationships. Many times I say that mediators are oncologists for relationships, because the conflict is a cancer in a relationship, in the relational body that happens between the two bodies or more bodies of the people involved. This body of energy that brings us together can get sick, and that we name conflict. And if you don't heal that illness, it will make us more and more apart until it's completely, we are completely separated. And then there's no dialogue anymore, just two or more monologues. But so in Argentina, they had this system going on, and mediation became part of culture. In Italy, and I'm sure you had Italian interviewees here, they also got a very good system with the opt-out law. And I really believe in that kind of system. And in Brazil, when we were drafting the law, and I did it, I drafted the mediation clause article in the mediation law. And there was one paragraph. Since this mandatory mediation was not something that had general acceptance in Brazil, the idea that I had was to say that only in commercial cases, because the opinions against mandatory mediation were basically because the court people thought that for the hyposufficient people, the people who could not fend for themselves and afford a good lawyer and so on, it would not be fair to have a mandatory mediation. I have no idea what would be worse than having a poorly paid lawyer against a well-paid lawyer. But anyway, so the idea was to have mandatory mediation only in commercial cases of higher value, so that you cannot talk about someone not being well assisted and not being able to really understand what is going on. But that paragraph was taken out at the last revision of the draft law. And so we don't have it. And what we have is a system where some cases are sent to mediation, either because the judge recommends or because for the subject in family issues, it is mandatory to send to mediation in court.
But Gabriela, tell me something. Can you just say hi to Constantia? She's online. She's watching it, and she's saying happy 2022 also. So hi, Constantia.
For her, the same.
Constantia, we'll get you into the Zoom meeting a little later. I'll send you the link. You come in later after we've gone through this conversation. Yeah. So we'll get her in. We'll get her in. We'll get her in later. But not right now, Constantia. First, we'll have a conversation. We'll get her in after that. No, but I'll tell you where the problem is that, I don't know, your constellation theory will come in, where it doesn't come in, that it's a totally different area, the court system. The colonization mindset, that dispute resolution only happens in courts. So mediation has some way got connected with the court system. I'm saying it has nothing to do with it. And because it has nothing to do with it, anything you go around with it, call it mandatory, opt out, everything, the foundation itself is so weak, because one, people are going to the court system for a certain kind of dispute resolution, right? Now that is a constitutional requirement, or whatever you might, whatever structure, why it's been put up, they go for that. Now you are telling them, no, for whatever reason, some countries, we don't have enough time, we don't have enough judges, we don't have enough courts, we are just overloaded, so don't come here, go. But the colonization mindset is, they're not requesting them. I was telling Mr. Panchu in that session that the Chief Justice is saying mediation should be used. I'm saying, forget all this mandatory thing. Let the Chief Justice go online, on media, on mass media, and just fold his hands and just tell people, look, we have not been able to deliver. We are just not being able to do our job. We are denying justice, because justice delayed is justice denied. We suggest that, why don't you try mediation? No law required, nothing. Just please try it, because when you come to us, we will deny justice. It might take 20 years for us to even decide your matter. And if it's a criminal matter, there was one article going around that this person was put on the death penalty. We have the death penalty in India. He was on the death penalty, on that death row. For 6 years later, the Supreme Court acquitted him. Can you imagine what that person would have gone through for 6 years? 6 years is not a short time. And some of them have been there long. The people who are longer, of course, in the criminal system. I'm just talking about this one. From the time he must have got convicted to the time he got acquitted, 6 years. The exact dateline I'm not being able to tell you, because I just read that on a just cursory kind of thing. But I'm just trying to tell you that that is the kind of situation in the judicial system. Shouldn't they go out? Shouldn't the judges go and say, look, this is just not right? Just the fact that we are able to do it is because this whole colonization mindset, we are getting away with it. We should not be able to get away with it. Is only because people are not coming and breaking down court systems, courts, only because that, again, I said the colonization thing, courts are there. Whatever they do is right. Oh, this is not done. How can you keep someone in jail? And that took the kind of jails that I'm saying, even that has been provided because of the colonization aspect. Those jails have, that is not what communities were supposed to be about. Of course, if someone, there is a crime and the person is still not convicted, you put them into a certain space, which tomorrow might not be the space they should have been. And first of all, that space also needs to be relooked, whether that space should look like that. But just the fact that you put the person through that is because you're getting away with it, because the colonizer could get away with it. You are here as a person who's a citizen of the country, because tomorrow, after 20 years, when you go and say, oh, you were innocent, nothing is done. You're not compensating the, first of all, how do you compensate for 20 years of a person's life gone? I am saying that you, as the court system, should deliver justice for them in 2 days, for even one day. Why not in 1 hour? Why should you be even able to send someone there and keep them there for 20 years? It's that whole mindset. So my this vision 2026, for me, one of this aspect is decolonization. We should have to start discussing this entire procedural law, entire penal codes, and all. They have to start looking at all that and look at, and that is where the connection between mediation and the court system was able to come through by the court system, only because they could get away with it. They are not connected. They have nothing to do with each other. You are inefficient as a institution. Do something about yourself. Don't spoil the whole profession. Like you said, the value of the profession is gone. In okay, I said in India 2005 we set up the first court system in the mediation center, and that person who's setting up today has a different viewpoint on how mediators should be compensated. I'm just saying, during these 16 years, what has happened to the whole system, and how mediation should have developed and did not develop, which is further affecting things. I mean, if you had that strong a base and that culture of mediation had gone around, that is more important. So even today, I'm saying countries should actually go out and promote the culture of mediation. The whole thing that you, like pre-institution, like you're saying, filing a case in the court and you have to go through, is you're telling a person, look, this is like something we are forcing you to do. No, they should not be forced. They should just go naturally. We don't want to go to the court. We want to try it this way. So it should come from them, from within. That culture, and there has been no, and I'm saying the culture for this reason should start from the Chief Justice of the highest court in the country. And a request, it should go as a request. And this is what the judiciary doesn't want to come down to, because they sit on a pedestal. I don't know in Brazil how they sit. Here they sit on a pedestal. Lawyers are still referring to them as your lordship. We have become an independent country 75 years back. We are not the, this is not that judge, that not your lordship sitting there. Let bring them down, get them come down to earth. Yes, they are providing a service. Let them be considered as service providers. We also have to understand their service providers. And even commercial matters and all, we are still looking at courts as the place. Why should the state be funding disputes? It should be a for profit, if they have to, or no profit kind of institution, which has nothing to do with state funding. I have a contract with someone doesn't pay me, and the state is funding it, that dispute. Are we getting enough from the court fees and everything which justifies? I don't know that, those figures I don't have in front of me. But why is the state getting into everything? Even today we have a mediation bill which is going around. I'm speaking a little too much. I will get you in, Gabriela. Give me this, because you started me off on this part. I have to finish this. We have a mediation bill. We have a very good law on mediation, the best law in the world, I say, on mediation. And on the other end, there are people in this country who say we don't have a law on mediation, because our law is called conciliation, because we got it in 1996. At that time, the model law that UNCITRAL had circulated was calling it conciliation. They've changed that whole concept in the new model law that they've circulated, that we were calling it conciliation, but worldwide popularity of the word mediation has come through. So now we are using the word mediation, but there's no difference between the two. But people are still confusing everyone by saying there's no law on mediation. I say we have the best law, and such a nice law. There is no interference by anyone. Anyone can be the mediator, because I believe that parties are not stupid. They're very smart. They know whom they're going to trust. They will trust the person. They don't require any panel. They don't require anything, because once they meet the person, they will decide whether the person can mediate for them, and they can walk out whenever they want. It's not something that they're stuck in. So they can do that. But to try and regulate it, you're only going to make things more, I mean, I would think constricted for parties, which this definitely was not required, because I'm still saying the 1.3 billion people and all that has to be taken into account, not the institutional mediation that we always keep talking about. That's very small. Now there are no numbers there. I was looking at Singapore for some in 13, 14, 15 years, some few thousand matters. You have millions and millions of. Brazil has what, 180 million cases pending in courts in a 200 million population. It's a much larger kind of thing that has to be taken into account. So no interference by anyone, no government, nothing. That judiciary, we have such a nice law. At the end of that, the settlement agreement is as good as a court decree. For the person sitting in a village in India, there can be nothing better. They have nothing, no connection with the courts, no connection with the government, and you are impart so much. Today we have a mediation bill. Suddenly, I just feel judiciary, Chief Justice sets up a committee to look into how mediation legislation can come through, not even understanding we already have a very good legislation. It puts up a committee. What does the judiciary have to do? I say, like allopathic doctors. Do you follow allopathy? Allopathic doctors are setting up a committee to how Ayurveda has to be regulated. What do you have to do with it? It's Ayurveda. Let those people do what they have to do. You look at your allopathic whatever practice and you do that. But this, whenever you connect yourself into something which you're not supposed to, you will create issues. When only issues will come out and nothing good has come out of it. Even in the US, if you're saying that model went around in the court system, I don't see benefiting them. They are still sitting in courts. 100 million matters going into court every year is not a small number. The culture of mediation hasn't developed over 45 years. It's not that people are going to mediators first. They're still going through the court route. How is it benefited? The mediator in the court is still getting nothing, close to nothing. He's thinking that yes, or she, whatever gender, thinking that today I am in the court system, I'll be recognized. Tomorrow I'll get matters in my private practice. Nothing comes. Gets dissolution, walks out of the system. Someone else comes in. That Ponzi scheme goes on. New mediators will keep coming in, getting disillusioned, going out of the system. There'll not be full-time mediators. They'll be doing other things. This will just become a part-time thing. So I think we just need to relook the entire thing. And of course, I've taken too much of your time, Gabriela. Please, so many times you wanted to come in, but I did not let you. Yeah, please.
There are so many things to say, but I think the most important is I really feel that we're living on the pale blue dot, the earth. We're all the same, with very little differences, but there are huge differences in numbers. I think I told you this story when we were in a GEMS meeting, and each one was supposed to talk about the developments of mediation in their own country. And before me, there was this wonderful lady from India, and she said that India really needed mediation because you had 32 million pending cases in court. Did I tell you this story?
Yeah, but you please go. That time, I think people are listening. Yeah, please tell us again.
So I didn't know if I should laugh or cry, because I know that Brazil has about 17 times less population. So with 17 times less population, you had 32 million pending cases at the time, and we had 108 million pending cases at the time. So it's with different colors, but the picture is the same.
Yeah.
It's a judiciary that is not able to do what it should be doing, which is to treat on the way it was created to treat the cases that are there, and to send out the cases that should not be there. Every judge, I was a lawyer before being a mediator, but I became much more familiar with the court system after becoming a mediator, because as a lawyer, I was always a preventive lawyer, a negotiator lawyer, someone that always wanted to avoid going to court. And I always believed that that was the best for my clients. But so after becoming a mediator and having all this contact through the creation of the mediation system within the court system, I became friends with a lot of judges, and I had friends before who were judges, and I asked a lot of them about what percentage of the cases that you deal with every day are really cases that should be in court. And the answers I got were always lower than 5%. Around 3% would be the average. So about 3%, let's say 5% of the cases that are in court are cases that should be in court. Every other 95, 97% of the cases could have been solved by society directly. And of course, mediation would play a great part. The only thing that I kind of respectfully disagree with you is that I don't think people go to mediation because they understand that it's better than going to court. They need to be taken to mediation, and that's where the law comes in. If we only had a law to say, you need to try mediation before stepping into the court system, full stop, that's the law, that would be the perfect law.
We have that. Yeah, we have that. We in a commercial courts, in a commercial matters, you're supposed to send the notice. I mean, we have an authority which you go to, and they send a notice to the other side. But the other side can refuse to come into it, and there's no issue. Then you can go to the But
so it's a zero law. It's null. Having an obligation to do something, of course, requires a punishment if you don't do so. There needs to be a system put. So, for example, in Argentina, just to use this example that I already used, if you want to start, you need to know how to start a mediation. It's not enough. Actually, I said that one sentence, but that is not enough. You need to have a system in place. So what is this one possible system, not the only one? For example, the Italian example, the opt-out system. It's a good system. Another option in Argentina. Argentina is not so much based on institutions, but in individual mediators. So if you want to start a mediation and that is regulated, you can send the other party, even if you don't have an agreement with the other party, a list of 5 options of mediators. And it is presupposed that the other party has some time to respond, which one he or she will prefer. And if he or she doesn't answer in silence, the first one is the chosen one. So if you send a notification to the other party with 5 names of mediators and the person doesn't answer in, I don't know, 15 days, 30 days, you can start a mediation with the first one of the list. So you go to that mediator, you ask them to schedule a first meeting. The mediator will send a notification to the other party saying, according to blah, 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 I am here, it's not a subpoena, but it's kind of, so I'm calling you to a mediation session. And if the person doesn't come, he will start the day in court. So the first one who wanted the mediation will be able to start a legal procedure and prove that he invited the other party to mediation and the other party didn't show up. So he has the benefit of doubt. He has the benefit of having tried, and the other party has the opposite of the benefit.
No, but
so he will have.
Yeah. No, but the
Go
end
ahead.
of the whole, at the end of the whole thing, what does happen? One, the mediator is the person I'm interested in. Is the mediator being able to get whatever a livelihood out of it also? But Constantia is coming out. I to send Constantia a message that I'll call you in, but she's coming. Let's say hi to her, and then I will send her out. Let's just say hi to her first. She's coming, so we must say hi to her.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I'm just saying that at the end of the day, that for me, that mediator is important. So mediation gets promoted, the cases go out of the courts. I'm not interested in that. That's the judiciary. They have to sort it out. They get 1,000 times more judges or whatever they have to do, that's their job. I am not, as a mediator, wanting to make your life easier at my expense. Here, at the end of the whole thing, damn good process. So and so happened.
Oh,
Hi, Constantia.
Hi, Vikram. Bom dia, Gabriela.
Constantia, you were supposed to come
great to
in
see
later.
you.
We were supposed to call you in later when our conversation was at that. Yes, I sent you that message also.
Oh, I apologize because I just bumped into the link, so I thought it was time to show up. I'll be around.
No, no, it's nice of
I'll
you to
be
come in. At
around.
least you can say hi to us. We can talk
Oh,
to you.
It's great to
hi,
see you.
Gabriela.
Feliz
Good to
Ano
see
Novo.
you too. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year,
Happy New
everyone.
Year.
But where are you, Constantia, these days? Are you back in Brazil or are you still in the
No,
US?
not yet. No, not yet. Next week.
Hmm. But maybe, what about no travel restrictions coming in right now?
No travel restrictions so far. Luckily.
Hmm.
Luckily.
So how long haven't you met Gabriela? Have you been?
Oh, that's another thing we have to thank you because it's been a long time we haven't met personally, but we follow up on each other closely throughout the pandemic as well. But now I have this New Year gift brought to you, brought by you.
Yes. So Gabriela, why haven't you been staying in touch with Constantia?
Well, actually, we live not very far away from each other, and we like each other, and we have a lot of people in common. But life has been kind of complicated lately in this past year, and so
That's sad. Yeah, that's sad because I think people should be staying in touch with each other. Imagine I'm staying in touch with people, with both of you, and you're not in touch with each other. So
that happens. I think the online life made a lot of things possible that before were very complicated.
yeah, absolutely.
So
So so Constantia, what's happening? Where in the US are you right now?
Connecticut,
So
Connecticut.
how's the weather?
Cold,
code.
but but it's been nice for most of the time, and then I would say quite warm for this time of the year, which is okay, I guess.
No, but how does it
Uh,
compare in terms of Brazil in Rio? The weather there, what in winter? What kind of weather do you get there?
well, we never. Well, I would say that we don't have winter. We have either rain or sun, and most of the time we have very humid and warm weather throughout the country. Maybe in some parts of Brazil, like the south part, they get more of the winter spirit and um specific weather. They even have snow some places
Yeah.
in the south of Brazil, but this is not the rule. It's an exception.
Okay,
And
let me tell Gabriela what the situation. Gabriela, the thing is that in the symposium, Constantia's session, she made a statement. She said that in my lifetime, I want to see that I can practice as a full-time mediator. So for me, she is the person that I am looking at as, if she can be a full-time mediator, then I have done my job, whatever way it happens. So that is where the target is. That's why I'm targeting the judiciary. I'm targeting this entire mandatory thing, that if you are finally at the end of the day, Constantia cannot practice as a full-time mediator, the whole thing hasn't worked to our advantage. I'm very clear on that. So that is what she is, the person whose name is going to be there as the person who has to practice as a full-time mediator as soon as possible.
and I have to remind you again, this is not only a goal in life, but I want to be a full-time mediator in this generation.
Yes, but that's what you what I am doing, whatever I'm doing, only to make you a full-time mediator and make sure that create that atmosphere. I will criticize
Appreciate.
the judiciary. I will fight with Gabriela. I will tell her this whole mandatory thing and this is not working out. I will keep doing that with everyone. Gabriel, with Constantia, I will make sure that we are not going to let the system affect mediators. Damn good. Like I was just telling her, damn good. Mediation being promoted. Judiciary is talking about mediation. What use is it if Constantia cannot practice as a full-time mediator? It all comes down to that, Gabriela, nothing else. Is Constantia being
Well,
able to practice as a full-time mediator or not? So you, whatever you say, whatever you think, please make sure at the end of the day, we are looking at Constantia and her practice as a full-time mediator.
And that's
I think
why,
we have many
again,
ways to.
I insist in participating of this Disneyland, Mediation Disneyland project. We have surpassed Woodstock phase. This is Disneyland. It's a permanent project.
But Gabriela doesn't know about it. You know that it was called the Woodstock of mediation by Rafael Lobo. He called it
No.
the. Okay, oh, you don't know about that. Okay, okay. Let me show you the poster that he designed. This is, I love doing this because it was so creative of him. And of course, now Constantia is going a step ahead and she's calling it the Disneyland of mediation. So let us just look at that first, okay? That was, I don't know, but you didn't see it at all. Huh? You didn't see this promotion of this. One second. One second. Just give me a minute. So that part of it was really, that period was amazing. We had what, almost 100 speakers from more 40 plus countries. This is what he had done. This was supposed, this is on the original poster of Woodstock. So I really,
Great.
very nice. I mean, I found it so creative. And just the terminology, that whole cult status to it, it was, those were interesting days. Imagine 7-8 sessions happening in a day.
Well, you know what makes it possible is that you love it. You have fun with it.
Yes.
And I think this is something that mediators should learn, because all we do in a mediation room is very stressful. I mean, we're dealing with people in their worst moments. So if we don't find a way to make it lighter, we cannot stand 7-8 sessions a day.
Yep, absolutely.
So
But at the end of the day, I think the main good part was connecting with Constantia, sitting in Brazil, coming in, her thoughts, all that we shared, and that common thing that came out from everywhere. Finally, for me, that important thing, that are mediators being able to practice as full-time mediators, issue everywhere in the world. Issue with the court system everywhere in the world. So all those common things, those things that people might think is only unique to their countries, it's not like that. The same thing went all around.
we
So
are
that,
all one.
yeah. So I
That's
think
the
that
sentence of the day.
exactly. But all one, but in a situation where we are being devalued and the profession is being devalued, with us not being responsible for it. Some
Yeah,
other institution being responsible. Yeah.
yeah, but that's where the whole orders of love come in. What can we do? What good can we do out of it? We need to look at the reality and see what we can do to make it better. How do we drive forces from this difficult situation we are at? Why are we there? What can we learn from it?
I'll tell
What
you
can
why
we choose to be?
I'll tell you why we are there. We are there because we are decent people and we are not going on the streets and fighting about our rights. I'm talking about the handful which is only practicing as mediators and nothing else. Because I keep saying this, giving this example, that in the court system, you have litigating lawyers and you have mediators, because you want to make it part of the court system. So mediation, you want to make part of the court system in whatever way you've done it. So you have litigating lawyers, you have mediators, pay them the same. Let them charge the same. Whatever the mediator right now in the court system is getting, the lawyer cannot charge more than that. I'm telling the mediation center will be closed down on that day, or all the lawyers will be on the streets. They'll close down the courts. That is why we are being discriminated all over the world. This is discrimination at its best. Look, we are going to tell you how much you can get. We are going to decide that. But lawyers, litigating lawyers, do what you want. $10,000 a hearing, not a problem. Here, you get, there's one particular court here, which I was saying, that first place where in the court system that the mediation center was set up, $100 for the entire mediation. It can take 20 sessions, it take 30 sessions, doesn't matter. And the lawyer in that same court will be charging $10,000, $15,000 a hearing. can this mismatch exist? And where is it going to go? It's never going to benefit the profession. Profession not going to develop. Like you said, it'll be devalued all the time. That, oh, this is maybe what they deserve. This is why they're being told. Yeah. Okay,
Sorry, can I just say a word there?
Please.
The court is not intruding in how much the lawyers make, because the lawyers are chosen and hired on the free market.
Yep.
The problem is if you are a mediator in the court and you have accepted to work for so much, XYZ. But if you are a private mediator hired by the parties and the lawyers, and you're charging as much as you want because no one can intrude in that.
Exactly. That's the way it should be.
And you're the same with the lawyers. If you want to charge millions, you will charge millions. The thing is, can you find a client to pay?
No, that's exactly what the problem.
Because, but that's where we need to focus. The place where I learned mediation, where I first learned in the United States, and to which I'm very grateful and I'll always be, I worked for free because I was learning. And they were giving the parties a better service thanks to that program. But they gave a training to people, and people were there to practice because they were learning. And that is okay, that is balanced. No one is being over benefited or under benefited. It's a clear equation, and that is okay to have people learning.
But Gabriela, that's not happening. That's not
making
happening.
no money to do that. That is okay.
Happening. That's really not happening, because Jeff Kitchabin, who was part of the court system, and he's a very senior mediator there, and he's practicing only as a mediator.
Yeah, but my question is, who can change this situation? It will not be the court system, because it's not bothering them. It will not be the lawyers or the parties. It needs to be the mediators.
Absolutely. That's
so
what I'm saying.
The mediators need to start to value themselves and say, no, I will not work for free. Thank you very much.
Exactly. This is what I'll tell you what the issue is. I'll tell you.
And then what do we do to live full-time mediators?
No, I am saying that senior lawyers in the court system who are practicing, and they don't mind practicing for free because they feel they will be recognized and they will be elevated to become judges. They are looking at from that perspective. They think that the judges will recognize us because we are doing this good service. So for them, it doesn't matter because they're earning enough money out of the litigation practice. So they just think. So I'm saying to get to that mediator, and I want to request them, please do not work for this amount. You are spoiling the profession. But at the same time, also I have to be conscious of this aspect that for some people, for some person, even that amount might be a livelihood. So I don't want to take that away from the person, but at the end of the day, the quality of the user experience has to be the best. And that is where I have a problem with. When someone tells me, like I told you, that person told me, if you give peanuts, you'll get monkeys. And that is the reputation of that particular mediation center. That is what I have a problem with. It's not just about mediation. It's not about the parties are going to talk about mediation to people when they go out. And what are they telling people about it? Yeah.
But the main dysfunction is when you're doing something thinking that you will receive. That's the difference between getting and receiving. Something will fall from the sky out of nothing to balance your equation. That will not happen nowhere in the world. So if you want to work for the courts, either because you're still learning, or because you love it, or because you have more time than you can spend, it doesn't matter. Be okay with it. That is the reality there. The judiciary is not promising to pay. So why are you expecting to receive? And that deception, you get disappointed after disappointment after disappointment, because you are in Brazil we say that you're hitting on a knife. No, you're punching a knife, and then you complain that your hand is hurt. Who is doing the movement? The knife?
No, but let me tell you also that the fact that you're saying learning, I'm saying learning for what? They think they're learning to get, they will set up their private practice and they will get work. They're not getting it.
course.
And this, like I was telling you that Jeff Kitcher been telling us about his experience. He was saying that I was in the court. I used to give some time as free because to I would learn, and people would recognize, lawyers will recognize me and then ask me to become a mediator on a private practice kind of thing. He said, did not happen. And I used to tell them that, look, okay, you've been taking me as a mediator so many times. What about some private work? He said, you've given your time for free. We'll take that time. So that did not help the mediator. But the only major issue has happened with the judicial system and the mediation is that we are talking about it. And all those interesting things, Gabriela, about that heart, soul, and spirituality in mediation, those are conversations I want to have with you. And we've gone into this direction, which I'm telling you, why there is a problem on that direction is because the judiciary, again, the colonization aspect is strong enough to influence things which they should not actually do, but they're going to get away with it. They're going to get amendments in the law done. They'll make committees to look at mediation. So that discussion will get us nowhere. We'll keep trying. We'll keep trying. But these other interesting conversations, which we can only have with you, what about those conversations? So in my vision 2026, one of those things is heart, soul, and spirituality. I feel that those are important elements of mediation, which have been lost out in whatever training happens and whatever discussions happen. Is it the US model that is going around? In that US model, these elements don't find a place. Maybe not. So how do we get heart, soul, and spirituality into mediation in terms of discussion and more? Please, that is an area which I really feel you can add a lot of value to.
But can I suggest a schedule? We've been talking for about 2 hours. Maybe we could plan another session and just give a glimpse of the next chapter.
Anytime.
Is
No
that
issue
okay?
at all. Absolutely.
Because the subject is so different from what we have.
And this was the subject to go to. Yeah, this was the subject we were supposed to go to, and this is where it normally does happen. It normally ends that as that discussion takes a lot of time and it goes nowhere at the end of the day, because obviously. But okay, that was also important. That was also important. We've got that out of the way. But in part 2, we will concentrate more on those other interesting things that we touched in that mediator experiences, the energy fields and connections and all that. So
if you want, we can schedule it right now.
Anytime.
But
are you going to schedule it, or your voice is going to schedule it? What is going to schedule it?
Sorry?
Your voice is going to schedule it, or are you going to schedule it?
Yeah. My voice, Constancia. We were supposed to do this conversation on the 29th, but I had zero voice on that day. So I had a bad cold that is kind of in the fashion here. And I completely lost my voice. So today I don't have it full, but I have 80%. So
you're doing a great job, Gabriela.
So basically,
I regret it for your cold. Sorry for your cold.
But so the one thing that I would like to just leave as a seed, food for thought here on the life, soul, and spirituality, is that we, again, the same sentence, we are just one. We are not one person when we are acting as a mediator and another person when we are doing our house stuff or acting as a mom or doing whatever else we do. And we need to have this connection in everything we do, everything we say. But the specifics of the place of the mediator, in my view, could be summarized by the mathematical equation called God's signature. It is the I forgot the name.
Fibonacci.
Fibonacci. Yeah. So the Fibonacci equation, called the signature of God, is in everything and every person. And that is the very opposite of what I was saying before, of mediators trying to save someone so that they can look like a hero. when you really believe that everybody is God's signature, that everybody has the Fibonacci equation in itself, that everybody is able to solve their problems, and you are there just to create a better environment for people to bring out the better in them, then you become this oneness as a mediator, and you help people see that structure in themselves. You can only inspire people, you cannot do it for them. But if you're there desperately trying to save them, they will only get more desperate. And sometimes they will they will draw an agreement, but it's just one more sheet of paper. It's not what really fix the situation from inside out. And there's a quality issue there, as we are always talking here about quality.
Yep.
The quality needs to look like the parties, not like the mediators. The quality of the mediator is to bring up the best in the parties, and everything will come from there.
Okay, so now what has to happen is Constantia and you, both of you, also have to be part of the lecture series. We need lectures in, of course, in English and in Portuguese, both, because I had Rafael doing it in Spanish and English, and then Luis also has done in Spanish, and it's separate, not the same translation happening, actually separate lectures. What is this topic? You pick up the topic. You say whatever. The whole thing is to inspire people who are outside the mediation world, for them to in some way get inspired to be mediators or to get into mediation in some way, get connected with it. That is you have to inspire them. So how you have to do it, you have to decide what topic. But okay, Constantia, you also have to be part of the lecture series. You can schedule it now, you want to schedule it later, your wish. But I still have to take you what is going to happen in the you'll have to give me that much time, Gabriela, to take you through what is happening in the month. For me, that is also important to put out. So what is happening? Let me also put it out a little bit, some parts of that, because if I'm doing so much, people should see that also. So let us just see. Okay, so this much we've already seen this. Okay, this is done. Okay, so this is this Vision 2026 that I'm talking about. On the website, I put some topics which that I am putting them only at topics, not getting into an explanation in each. We'll keep discussing it and then we keep bringing out everyone's own thought on it rather than me putting out a thought. So this happened. And of course, there were two parts of his. One was the one preliminary discussion I had, and then this official launch. So you must watch that. Then this was the people who would come on evolution of a mediator in 2021. The ones in Conversation with a Beautiful Mind, I haven't been able to put it out. And once I have to put all of them out also. This is a new series I've started called Mediator Lifestyle. So mediators will just take us, give us a glimpse on their lifestyle, whatever. So Christina wanted to take us to one of the beaches to the beach in Paphos. But on that day, for some technical issues, she could not take us there. So in her house, she took us about how she does painting. So she showed us some paintings of hers, that orange tree in her house, showing us that. So just anything. I mean, it's whatever you want to show us about your lifestyle. So this is what I mean. I just found that this aspect also should be out there. This person, I don't know whether you know, she's in Brazil. She has some interesting thoughts which cannot come out in 2 hours. We need a lot of 2-hour sessions there. So that's going to keep happening. This is a lecture. Indrani also not too well. Let's see if she does this lecture tomorrow. Then this is with Orith. She was also part of the symposium. And these are Chile. He's from Chile. He was in that mediator experiences. He's also a JAMS fellow. So he's now on the lecture. He gave a lecture. I haven't actually told him on Spanish. I should tell him on Spanish also. So he comes in on the evolution of a mediator. This is that inspiration behind the lecture series. So you people have to read this, and this is your thought behind giving your lecture. For people who may maybe never be exposed to a lecture about mediation, those people, the mediation world is one thing, and beyond that, How do we get to those people? How we take these lectures there? That part of it will keep happening. Let's keep the content ready. So we have the content ready. When we reach there, they have something to watch. So this, Michael Lang, he's already done 2 of these things. Then Lisa is talking about her vision 2026. This is part 2 of Birdie's session. Interestingly, this series, I start with talking about, you could talk about your grandfather and everything. So in that first episode, we've only reached his mother growing up. And he thought this was only going to be about him. He hasn't even come in the picture yet. So he of course has enjoyed the questions that were asked. This is the 2 books that he's written. So I've actually put out on my post that there is a website where you can go buy the book and you get a 25% discount. Ken has been nice to arrange a Vikram discount. So you can go there and use Vikram as the code and get a discount. So this, if anyone reads the book, they can come and be part of the discussion. Tell me you read the book. You can come there. I'm the only one who doesn't read them. So I'll be the only one who hasn't read them. This one is that same in Conversation, Beautiful Mind. And then last day of the month, celebrating mediators, their birthdays in that month. So that's how things are. And things get added to it. The mediator experiences, some people are going to come on that. So that'll get added as we go along. So that is it, Gabriela. So you, when you want to do the next one?
Very, very good. How about the 14th? The 14th or the following week?
14th. Okay. Whatever. Let me just check. Will you give me just 1 second to check?
I think the 14th is better if you can.
This Friday the 14th, huh?
Sorry.
Friday,
yeah.
Friday the 14th. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. These things get added. Now, right now, what I showed was what is already planned. Now we have another one coming up on the 14th. Then whatever the lecture part of it, we'll plan something in February. Let's do the lecture in February. Constantia, you have to take out time in February for a lecture. Okay.
Thanks. I would love to. Perhaps first week of February would be okay.
Yeah, first week of February is okay. Although I've tried to keep them on Wednesdays, these lectures. It can be done on another day, it's not a problem. But I'm just saying I tried to keep them on Wednesdays.
I will confirm that to you as soon as possible because we're just about to have our school semester to start. So I need to check my schedule.
No problem.
And that it won't be available before end of January.
Oh, sure. We'll do it in February. But Gabriela, why can't we have a series on your constellation thing? Why can't we have a series of lectures on that? Because I still have to figure that one out. Because I told you I went to that video of yours with people from Lebanon. I really have to figure out what was really happening because of the language issue. But you have to take us through that. Your constellation thing, I'm still wanting
that video has subtitles, but of course subtitles is not as rich as the language itself. But I think we should do that. And when we first started today, I was thinking about when I'll have a new professional chapter soon. I'll change a lot of things in my professional life as of the end of February. And then maybe we can do these things kind of side by side, constellation and mediation. Yeah. Mediation is with you and I'll do constellation. Yeah. Something like that, because it's a wonderful idea what you're doing.
We must, yeah. So I'll take time on that. We'll whatever you have to, but I think keep it as a series. We should keep putting it out. How that works, I still have to figure that out. I haven't been able to figure out how that whole thing was working, what was really happening there. So you can take us that. But tell me, I said Gabriela Assmar, Brazil. Should I also put Lebanon next to it or not?
No, it's okay, Brazil. Okay. I have the Lebanese nationality, but I was born in Brazil and raised in Brazil, and I'm pretty much Brazilian.
But the Lebanese connection is all there.
Yeah, no, I am Lebanese.
Yeah, but in terms of family and all, everyone is still there, or?
No, no.
Mm,
And I don't speak a lot of Lebanese, so
mhm. That should be interesting. But
unfortunately, I would love to.
no, there was some people from Lebanon who sent me such nice pictures of Lebanon. Such a
It's
beautiful
wonderful.
place. Such a beautiful place with
Very,
these.
very
I mean, you
beautiful.
have the mountains here and you have the sea down there.
Yeah.
Such nice places.
Yeah.
But become conflict areas, I think that becomes a little bit of an issue. But
Yeah.
we should be, I mean, it should be visited at some stage in life. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So at this point of time, you want to finish this conversation and you want to take it up on the next thing. So, of course, I have to thank you for being there. And Constantia wants to thank you for being here. Yes, Constantia, you want to thank her for.
Uh, of course, like you said, gratitude is the word, the name of the game, and it should be this new year again. Um, Word uh, of the year. We've been through very hard times, still facing very challenging situations throughout the world, but we overcome. I'm very realistic, not being optimist, but I'm very realistic as far as what we have achieved. We have achieved a lot, not only in our personal lives, professional careers, and worldwide at the same time. This has been a great learning for all of us, and I think this new year will serve as um, as a stimulus to be on the move uh, forward, looking ahead and upwards, and mediation will definitely help us to get there sometime, somewhere. We've come a long way, and this is true for Brazil, but within this last 5 years, as I'm as I have become a mediator, no matter which kind, no matter how much time I have dedicated to my mediation. But Gabriela will agree with me. We've come a long way, but we've been getting lots of achievement as far as the promotion and the need, the awareness of our um, fellow Brazilians, not only as citizens, but as in the legal community and as mediators specifically. We, we, we have changed it, and we have changed it for the better. This is the this is the message for the time being.
But the
Thank you
interesting,
again for.
but Constantia looks beautiful outside. Nice green area that you have outside. This is what
Oh
mediator
yeah.
lifestyle is about. You should have you in that you should take us through what you where you are, all those the nice green area that you have at the back. But one thing you have to promise me, Constantia, when you get back, you have to go and see Gabriela.
No,
Okay.
no, no, no. Listen, the fact that we have been in close contact within the last 2 years because she's been very active and busy promoting and working on the constellation chapter of the alternative dispute resolution saga that we've been putting forward in Brazil, and I've been working on my mediation. But like I said, we've never been so close in a way because not only we have common friends, um, and but because somehow or the other we have to follow up each other's work because they go together like horse and carriage. So, well, the only thing I regret is the fact that we cannot be in closer contact in real life, you know, because of restrictions and because of the pandemic. But Gabriela
Okay.
and I will
Okay.
are still very much connected, aren't we, Gabriela?
Okay. No, but
For sure.
Carolina is there. Carolina Barbosa, Lima. She's there. She's saying very happy to see Gabriela. So I've sent her the link. I think I've asked her to join us. Let's see if
Okay,
she.
and I hate to interrupt, but I have to leave because I'm about to join another session. If you allow
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Okay. Thank you for coming
Okay.
in. Thank you for coming, Carol.
Okay.
Constantia,
My pleasure. My pleasure.
we'll fix a time for your session for your lecture series, right?
Okay.
Okay. See
Okay.
you. See you.
Bye bye,
Exactly.
Gabriela. Beijo.
Yeah. Please go and
Saúde.
Beijo.
please meet her. Please meet her when you get back. Please. Not on Zoom, but actually, please have a coffee together. Hmm?
We'll have a
Okay. Oh,
coconut
more
water.
than that. Yeah,
Coconut
yeah,
water.
yeah. By the
No,
beach.
no,
By the
no
beach.
wine. Yeah,
No wine.
Oh no.
Or
Gabriela's people.
maybe.
Oh,
No, no, she's promoting wine. I think there is some connection there. She's part of the alcohol promotion board also somewhere. She's promoting wine also at the same.
Not just
why
alcohol.
not?
Wine.
Why
Yeah,
not?
wine.
Why not?
Bye bye.
Why
Yeah,
not?
I need
but
to go to. I
just
just I don't know if someone else is coming
I
in, but
just told
I
I just
have
told
an
Carolina. Carolina was on there. She was saying hi. So I just sent her the link. If she comes in, it'll be nice. She can say hi to you. I don't know whether she got the link. Carolina, I've sent you the link on WhatsApp. So if you want to join us, please. So anyway, hopefully she does. But anyway,
I
thank you very
think
much, Gabriela. I know you need to leave, so we can definitely, and I'll see you next time. And please, we will keep our discussion more on those interesting areas which need to be explored.
see you soon.
Yeah.
To
All
be
right.
continued. Bye
Absolutely.
bye.
See you. Bye.
Have a great year.
Thank you. You too.